So off air, we're having a great conversation with my two special guests, Jas TAKHAR from Toronto and Peter Zalewski. Guys, what would your thoughts be about buying a property in Orlando? And before you even consider buying it, there's a thing called Welcome to Orlando 3% tax on the purchase price of your home. Well, guess what? My guest off air, Jas, was telling us that that's pretty much what's going on when you end up buying in the province of Ontario, because they're so heavily taxed over there. So, Jas, what's that all about?
Yeah, well, we've had the Welcome to our province, which is Ontario, Welcome to Ontario tax, which is really like, if you Google it, you got to Google land transfer tax is what it's called.
Which is, by the way, is the same thing as dock stamps on the deed over here for those of you that are not familiar with what land transfer tax is. So
we've had the land transfer tax for about a little over a couple of decades now. But
Crazy.
what was introduced about 7-8 years ago was also the Welcome to the Toronto tax. And so if you buy a property that has a Toronto address, which would be different than like the other parts of that greater Toronto area, Mississauga, Oakville. Some of your listeners and viewers will definitely know those cities as well. You also pay a Welcome to Toronto tax, and so you're being taxed twice on the property when you purchase it, and that is always paid on closing. Approximately, I would say, I tell my clients to budget for about 3.3 to 3.5% for both of them. Now, as a first-time buyer, there's rebates for both of those, but generally speaking, someone who's investing is doing this not as their first property and their first time, and so they're gonna eat that 3.5% approximately.
You know what?
We're used to it.
I know. I got to turn the tables around. And this is why I got to tell you, I'm proud to say I'm an Orlandonian. I'm proud to say there's a reason why they call Orlando the city beautiful. We're obviously home to the theme park capital of the world, ranked as the second fastest growing city. We have a booming population growth here and job growth. You know, we have, I don't know, a median price of $275,000. And over 60% of our population rents, guys. So if you're looking at a real estate investment and you're looking not to spend a lot of money, I definitely would recommend coming to Orlando for that. More importantly, there's a lot of people that are coming in and relocating from different parts of the country. There's people from different parts of the world that want to come and call Florida home. I have Peter from Miami as well that's been sharing with us all this wealth of information about what's going on in the Miami area. And we're definitely seeing, a transference of people coming in from colder lockdown places to come and enjoy our warm weather, enjoy the water, the beaches, and everything else our state has to offer. Peter, what else is going on in South Florida that you want to share with our audience over here so that they can get a sense of what's happening in the market down there? For those of who may be interested in maybe buying a second home or investment property down there.
So I work with a lot of investors. I tend to work private equity investors, hedge funds, Wall Street types, the guys who are kinds of pains in the behind.
Yeah.
And what I will tell you is so pandemic breaks March of last year. I started talking to Connecticut, Wall Street, blah, blah, blah. They'll say we're basically on lockdown. We need a year till after the vaccine comes before anything happens. So here we are a year later, vaccine's coming. People are starting to get excited again, but there's also some concern about, is it going to play out, the vaccine? Are there going to be any kind of problems? Are there other issues? Are the lenders going to continue to put money on the street? So the real focus right now is on this moratorium related to foreclosures and evictions, which we have in the United States.
Thank you
Basically,
for sharing
somebody can live in their place and not pay. And if you have a mortgage, you put it in forbearance. And if you're a tenant, you're basically just hustling your way through. So the issue that our investors are having is, okay, I can go and buy a house in theory where a guy's losing it. But the problem is he's got a moratorium. So
Correct.
He's backstopped. So why the hell would he sell? Maybe if prices go up, he can refi and get himself out of the conundrum. The other scenario is I can go in and I can buy multifamily, but I got no tenants who are paying the rent and they don't have to. So I really want to sink my money into a deal and hope that I'm going to be able to, reclaim this. So this is the push-pull that's really going on, with the savvy investor who's running, spreadsheets and is a real investor, not somebody speculating, throwing cash and saying, oh, I think it's going to go up.
So
that's the drama.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I have an instinct, okay,
Tell me.
that I think that there's going to be a correction in quarter 4 of 2021, where once the moratorium finishes and and a lot of the people and the banks stop helping the way that they've been helping all of these homeowners, I think we may definitely see an uptick in foreclosures in the market, and definitely an opportunity for those on the sidelines with their money bags going out to go out and buy these investment properties. Do you think that's going to happen? And do you anticipate that it's going to be anything like what we saw in 2008?
Miami Herald, according to Miami Herald, between March and December of 2020, okay. 50,000 evictions have been filed in the state of Florida, which are basically on hold. Okay, now January through here we are in the middle of March, who knows how many. So what it sounds like is when they open up the moratorium, you could have easily 100,000 evictions that are all going to have to get processed. So now suddenly, if you're a landlord, okay, this is great. I can finally bring somebody in.
Yeah.
But also too, if you're a tenant, if you went bad, is your next landlord going to say, well, I'm not going to rent to you because you didn't pay your rent? Or are they going to say, oh my God, it was a pandemic, therefore maybe we should give you a second chance? So nobody knows how that's going to go on. But yeah, I think Q4 is when things are going to happen. So what that means is the market is sort of steady and people are sort of kicking back. So if you're a seller, I would encourage you to take the price you can get, at least down here in South Florida. If it's condo, if it's a house, completely different story. But if you are a tenant, I would encourage you not to pay the rent, because chances are you're going to get a mulligan.
Don't say that.
Just like last time.
Don't say that.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
Listen. I had a buddy last time, and I've been playing this game for a while. I had a buddy last time. This was his hustle. His hustle was he would go to a guy getting foreclosed, and he'd say, dude, listen, I know you're getting foreclosed. Nobody wants to rent the place because you're going to get foreclosed. I'll tell you what, I'll pay you half to go on rent. So he'd always rent the 2-bedroom. He'd pay half to go on rent. He'd then find, and he says, as soon as the bank comes, I'm gone. So the landlord's okay, cool. So I'm getting some money because I'm going to lose it anyway. So he'd bring in a roommate, didn't tell the roommate he's paying half the price. So the roommate was covering the entire rent. So this guy's floating. And then what was his exit strategy? When the bank foreclosed, they gave him $3,000 to pack his stuff and leave. It's a cash for keys. This guy ran his hustle 3 times. He was
the
basically
Miami hustle.
Man, I'm
the
telling
Miami
you.
hustle.
That's why they say all the con artists are down there in Miami.
The New York Times put him in a story. Okay, his picture was there. That's when his roommate found out that he's been covering the rent the entire time. So what I'm telling you is, yeah, there's a lot of people who basically are struggling, and the pandemic has hurt them, but there's also hustlers going on. And if you're one of these landlords, what are you going to do? I don't know if you guys saw the story about New York. Some guy just got arrested who was a landlord. He went in the middle of the night while his 2 tenants were sleeping, a couple. He blindfolded them, he hogtied them, he threw them in a cemetery in Albany, New York, and basically got arrested for kidnapping and other things. So you have some landlords who are basically losing their entire life savings because people aren't paying the rent. So this is the part that is a little bit unclear as to how do we go forward. And until the moratorium's lifted, I'm not really sure, how you can make an educated decision, because you don't know what the real market conditions are. Right now, it's artificial, from my perspective.
Yeah, there's a lot to unbox there, right? With what Peter said, but I mean, I think if there's an investor listening or watching and you're going to be a landlord, I mean, for me, anyways, as I mentioned, I'm an investor first and foremost. I think you need to put in a lot of legwork. All the heavy lifting, in my opinion, happens at the beginning.
Correct.
When you're looking for a tenant. You'll never know 100% if Peter the tenant is going to pay and what, like, how he's going to act and all that kind of stuff. But I think if you just put in a lot of time in the front end, I think you can definitely cut the chances of any of those issues coming up, because all the horror stories that I've heard here anyways in the greater Toronto area is based on the landlords just being lazy. Like it was actually the landlord's fault. They were just lazy. They didn't do any research on the tenant. They didn't look for like nowadays, look at their social medias, right? Like here in Toronto, you can't not rent to somebody who has a pet. But if on their application they say they don't have a dog, but you look on their Instagram profile and there's 57 pictures of them and the dog and stuff, you probably know that they're lying to you. You know what I'm saying?
So true.
And there's so many other ways. And for me, actually, it starts at the mindset. Most landlords think they're up here, and the the tenant, I apologize, is beneath them. Like where I like to coach my landlords is, no, you're the landlord and the tenant is slightly above you. Why? Because it's a business. You got to treat them very well, and you gotta service them just like Walmart does when you walk into the store.
When the market's going up, everybody is an expert. Everybody knows, they know everything. They don't need anybody else around. But when you get into a situation like this, where there's so much uncertainty, this is where the people who know what the hell they're doing, this is where they thrive.
Correct.
So I love when there's uncertainty, because you can walk people through how it's going to happen, just like what you're saying, Jess. But when it's going up, who the hell needs any, and they don't need any assistance. They can all figure it out. It's like Bitcoin. Bitcoin going to 100,000. I don't need anybody. But in reality, it might be a different play once the market changes.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like, you can throw a rock at a building and you know the value is going to go up. You know what I mean? When the market's doing this and at the rate that it's doing it, I totally agree. I love a little uncertainty, because then you see who was swimming naked. I never came up with that. That was Mr. Warren Buffett. But I mean, I love the quote.
And you know what? Now more than ever, if you're considering to purchase a second home, buy an investment property, I don't care if it's from Orlando all the way down to Miami. Give me a call. You can always reach me at realsensenow.com. You can always call me on my personal cell phone. That's 321-229-1217. I have 2 amazing guests that you can always reach out to. Jazz, how can people get a hold of you if they wanted to reach you?
Probably easiest just to send me an email, info@reccanada.com. That's info@reccanada.com. My team will make sure that gets over to me. But if you want to see the handsome Indian guy in action with videos and pics, go to my Instagram profile. It's JazzTAKHAR1313. It's my lucky number. I would love to hear from you. Shoot me a DM and let me know that you heard me here with these 2 handsome fellas.
And Peter, how can people get a hold of you if they want to get some more amazing information about what's going on in the South Florida market?
You can Google me, Peter Zalewski, Zalewski, or go to CondoVulturesRealty.com. But we're nice vultures.
Yeah, you guys are great vultures. By the way, if you're in the market to buy or sell, like I said, give me a call. I'll be more than happy to hold your hand, walk you through the process. You know, there's a lot of things that people just don't know about. And the reason why we have this show is because it serves as a platform to add value to your life, to enhance the way that you live and play. And if you're looking to make an investment, it's just a way to kind of like offset all the pitfalls that you could possibly make. We're here every Saturday between 11 to 12 o'clock. Please join us on realsensenow.com and give me a buzz. I'll be happy to walk you through whatever questions that you want at any point in time. Guys, thanks for listening. Tune in next week. We're going to have another amazing show for you to check out.